This video has been in the making for quite some time. Ever since I started this channel and did my first ever book haul, I thought it would be fun to revisit and see what I actually thought of these books. Because when I made that video, I had no clue what the books were about and what I was like as a reader and how I would perceive them. So in this video, I'm just going to talk about my experiences with reading them and hopefully what surprised me the most, I guess. And I thought I'd do it like this. I haven't ranked them as such, but I'm going to start off with the books I didn't quite like or didn't live up to my expectations. And we can do that with a book that I recently DNF'd. So The House of the Spirits by Isabel Allende. I DNF'd because it has too much magical realism to it. I've read one of her other books, did like that whilst on vacation. Don't know really why I didn't like this one. I just didn't feel it. So this is going to leave me, and this is one of those I put off the longest, so there might have been a reason for it, and now it just has to go. Another book I realized I won't finish anytime soon is Moab is My Washpot, or Moab, I have no clue, by Stephen Fry. This is a memoir style book, and I just didn't feel like it was getting anywhere. It's tales about his childhood, or at least that's how far I came. So maybe some other time. I don't know if I'm going to get rid of it because I have faith in it still. But so far I haven't read it. Then over to the Booker Prize winner in 2020. It's Shuggie Bain by Douglas Stewart. It's about Shuggie. He lives in Glasgow and his mom is an alcoholic, and let's just say that he is miserable on all fronts. And that was sort of my gripe with this. It's too much pain, too much sorrow, and it's never good. It's never a happy ending. And I don't know about you, but to me, reading books that's all about the misery, I become quite miserable myself. And all this misery made me feel like this book was twice its size, and I read it quite slowly because I was kind of bored. So that says it all, I guess. Then we have A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles. So this man is trapped in a Russian hotel and he can't leave, and the world goes along without him, and he can view the world from the inside of this hotel. I guess I thought that this would be more about the world and what was happening in the world, but instead it's mostly about him in the hotel and the things happening inside the hotel, and I was kind of disappointed by that. Also, it's too chunky. It didn't happen that much inside this hotel, I can tell you that, so a bit disappointed. Then over to a book I thought would be really complicated, and it's Trilogy by Jon Fosse. I thought that Jon Fosse would be super complicated to read. This was my first read of his, but it actually isn't. The only thing is that if you want to get the full experience, I guess you have to put in a lot of time to interpret, and if you've read the Bible and you speak Latin, that may be an advantage, but I'll never be that person. So I may read the Bible at some point, but the rest I don't know. So a bit, I wouldn't say disappointed, I just would say that it isn't for me. Then over to a children's classic, and it's The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. I liked some of the characters, some of the tales were kind of cool, but all in all I was a bit bored. It was a bit dull. I know it's a children's novel, but I have read children's novels that are really, really entertaining. I didn't think this one is. Still a classic, still lovable characters. They're kind of cute, and when reading it, I remembered the TV series I watched as a kid, so that sort of helped, but still, Then a book I bought because of Patti Smith, and it's Astragal, or something like that, by Albertine Sarrazin, a French author. This is set in the 60s. It's it reminds me a bit of the Subutex novel I recently read, because it's kind of rough in the style. It's about a woman fleeing from a jail and then meeting a bunch of people, escaping police. I honestly don't remember more than that from it, and I think that is just a testament to my feelings for this one, I guess. It was underwhelming. As I said, the only reason why I bought it was because of Patti Smith, and I do really like her. Still like her writing, but this didn't feel like this was going to be what led her to write in such a great manner, I guess. Then over to The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. This one I bought because my Instagram feed was filled up with it, and it was nominated or shortlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction in 2021. So I bought it without actually thinking that this is something I could enjoy. But I didn't think it was all too bad. It's about two sisters and one disappears from the other one, and they live two very separate lives, and the one tries to find another. And there are themes like racism and being a woman, and yeah, I guess I learned stuff from it, but other than that, it wasn't really entertaining. Then over to the last book in this first half, and it's The Idiot by Elif Batuman. This is a chunker, and it was immensely boring. I bought it because it was supposed to be funny, and I actually didn't realize when it was supposed to be funny. There are some jokes about language and linguistics, because I believe she is a linguistics student. So that might be a campus novel. She is kind of absurd. I read on the back now that it's a portrait of a female artist, a novel not just about discovery but also to invent oneself. If I just read that sentence, I might have realized that this was not the book for me. And it's also too long. But as I said, I thought this would be fun. Apparently it wasn't. Then it's time for Nina Lykke and Full Spread. It's like full spread of disease because our main character is a doctor and there is a lot of trouble in the relationship she has with her husband. Some would also call it marriage. But anyway, this I found to be kind of funny. It's in the way she's brutally honest with her patients and sometimes rude, but I would say not without cause, and that's what I enjoyed. Probably I will end up reading more of her books at some point. Then over to another Norwegian author, and it's History of Bees by Maja Lunde. So this is one of the most popular Norwegian books the last 20 years, I guess. It's about the climate crisis. It's 4 books where each book has its own topic, and this is of course about bees. It's set in 3 different time periods, and one of the stories was immensely more exciting than the other ones, where a child is missing and it's the parents looking for the child. I was really gripped by that. Seen in retrospect, I think it has lost a bit of like the sparkle it had when I first read it, but still a book I would recommend. And there isn't that many books about the climate crisis that are good, or it seems. If you have suggestions, please leave them in the comments. But anyway, I've read book number 2, despised it, so we'll see. I have book number 3 standing behind me, so maybe that will happen at some point. Maybe the second book is the reason why I don't love that book now, but who knows. Then maybe we'll say it's time for the top 5, and we can start out with a Norwegian classic as well. It's Kristin Lavransdatter by Sigrid Undset. I think I was really surprised by this, and when I started the channel I thought, if I'm going to read one Norwegian book, I should read this one. And how many pages are there? 1,200 pages. I was really proud when I finished it, and it really felt like an accomplishment. It's even more about the experience than the book itself, but I really enjoyed the contents as well. And yeah, that's it basically. Then over to my first ever fantasy read, and it's Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett, Good Omens. I hadn't heard about any of those two before I started this channel. At this point, that seems kind of absurd, because everyone knows who they are, and I've read quite a few of Neil Gaiman's books, but haven't come around to reading Terry Pratchett yet. But that still is something that's going to happen. This was truly funny, but I was a bit confused in the beginning, so this is one of those where I feel like I have to read it again because I enjoyed the read so much, but I felt like I was a little bit left out, I guess. Something's missing, or at least something's really missing from my memory. I just remember having a really good time while reading it. Maybe it was my brain trying to get used to all the absurdness and like expanding, I guess, because sometimes when I read, I lock into a story and I stay within those confinements. So sometimes while reading fantasy, I can get a bit locked locked in, I guess, or out. Over to something different, and it's Sally Rooney's Normal People. Just a really enjoyable read about two young people that really can't get their relationship to work, and they come from two different backgrounds, and it's all about the way they interact with each other. Fell in love with this novel when I read it during a summer vacation, so that might be influencing the way I feel about it. But anyway, I really liked it, and I've read more from Sally Rooney now, and the way she describes people talking together and communicating, it's just very on point. So, really lovable characters and a lovable book. Now for a book that just blew me away, and it's When We Cease to Understand the World by Benjamin Lambatut. I think he was shortlisted for the Booker Prize, the international one. Seen in retrospect, I shouldn't have bought this book because normally this would have disappointed me, but this was just fantastic. He goes through historical happenings with scientists and their discoveries and how they all led to someone going mad. It seems like he has invented a new genre, or at least that's what I've heard about this book. It's really historically correct, but then not, and it sort of evolves into being not historically correct. But it's split into several pieces where you meet scientists and their discoveries and how things didn't go so well. And it was just it was so page-turny, just surprisingly engaging. And I'm probably going to read this one again at some point. I truly loved it when I read it the first time, and a fascinating book. But it's really dark. I think what adds to the darkness is how good things also can become bad things if you just meet the wrong people. So that's also an aspect to bring along. Then we have All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Dower, about a German boy in Nazi uniform and a French girl that can't see, where it's set in the Second World War, and it was just a terrific read. It was my favorite book the year I read it. That must be 2021, I guess. It's now a series on Netflix, I think, which I can't see because I'm fearing that won't be as good. I will definitely be disappointed because I truly love this one. I guess it's the two perspectives. That doesn't really always work, but it was just written in a way that made you really feel for both parties, and after a while it's pretty obvious that they will meet or something will happen that brings them closer together, and it was just really intense. So still a book I can't get out of my head, and it deserves all the praise that it has gotten. I don't really know what to take out of this. I guess I liked 50% of the books and didn't like the other 50%, so probably I've gotten better at choosing the right reads, but still, being the first time I bought a bunch of books, I'm really impressed by how many books I truly loved or truly really liked. So I'm fairly happy. If you have read any of these or you know sort of what you can recommend people based on these books, please comment below, because we're all here to find new books to put on our endless TBR. But thank you for watching this video, and yeah, I'll see you in the other one. Bye!